On Wednesday, the 19th September 2012, the International Conference on Financial Education and the exposition Invest to Slovenia were officially opened by Ljubljana Hajnacha, President of EUROFINUSE, the European Federation of Financial Services Users, and host Christian Verbic, President of VZMD, the Pan-Slovenian Shareholder Association. The conference formed an integral part of the world's largest international investors' week, Invest to Slovenia. Additional organizers that contributed to the success of EUROFINUSE International Conference included Shareholders, the European Federation of Shareholders Association, and the World Federation of Investors. The European Commission supported this key event, and many major European stakeholders actively participated.
We are very proud to have an opportunity to organize the world's largest meeting of investors and shareholders representatives in Ljubljana, Slovenia.
I would like to warmly welcome everyone to Slovenia on this amazing conference that united actually investors and everyone that is dealing with the investments from all over the world, not only from Europe. I think this kind of conferences are much needed in Slovenia especially, but all around Europe as well.
At the opening gala dinner, the conference participants were welcomed by top economic and financial Slovenian authorities, including the Slovenian Minister of Finance, Mr. Janez Šuštaršič, and the President of the Slovenian Constitutional Court, Professor Ernest Petric.
Foreign investment, yes or not? The question always is how to handle it, what contracts to make, how to agree on, whom to invite, with whom to work. But in our case, I must say frankly that foreigners, foreign companies, foreign capital, foreign investment were not as welcome as they should be.
The idea is certainly to start diminishing the government's or the state's share in a lot of Slovenian companies.
I am wishing all of you a good stay in Slovenia, successful work, and tomorrow it's announced will be better weather.
EUROFINUSE International Conference on Financial Education started on Thursday, the 20th September, and spread over 2 action-packed days. The conference, as well as the exposition Investo Expo that ran alongside, attracted a multitude of participants from across Europe, but also Cameroon, Russia and Lebanon, and brought together European and international experts in financial education from industry, policy making and academia.
I think this Investors Week is a very important milestone for all of the organizations that are present here today, from EUROFINUSE and Shareholders. I think it is really the very first time that all of these organizations, including the World Federation of Investors, join here in one investor event. And today we are more than 40 national organizations of investors representing more than 4 million individual investors. Let me conclude, ladies and gentlemen, by a quote with Henry Ford with regard to this Investors Week. Coming together is the beginning, keeping together is the progress, and working together is the success.
It is a very important event, and the fact that all of us can come together in a mutual supportive environment and addressing key issues and how each of our organizations can move forward. Individual ownership of stock is a pillar of a free democratic society and a prerequisite for a market economy. And if we put that in perspective, what we're talking about and what we're helping to sustain and build is really the foundation of a democracy where the individual not only has a voice, but a piece of the action.
The first panel dealt with the crucial question of how to revitalize the EU capital markets through pensions and other reforms. EUROFINUSE revealed critical early findings of its research project on the real returns of pension savings, showing they were on average negative over the last 10 years. Panelists also criticized the apparent lack of transparency, highlighted the importance of the work of non-governmental organizations in this respect, and elaborated on the differences of European national markets that at present undermine the establishment of more cross-border funds.
In Europe also there is a serious problem of diversification of conditions under which pension funds operate in different national markets. Out of 140,000 pension funds, only 84 are actually operating cross-border. Among the recommendations that have been given was, of course, to also encourage from the Commission member states to harmonize rules under which pension fund operates.
In all the work we're doing is trying to improve the connection between the financial services and the real economy. And this is about investment. This is about making sure the financial services really act as a solid conduit for investment in the real economy throughout Europe. One of the key things there is tackling this sort of intermediation, the way the financial services creates complex chains and complex products, whereas the basic role of capital markets is very simple, to allow people to invest in businesses. Yeah.
The second panel concerned the rather controversial topic of educating and protecting financial services users. Financial education is an important element in empowering consumers to make the best decisions for their financial circumstances, but it cannot replace the provision of unbiased and competent advice given by financial advisors. Although the European Commission supports in general the provision of financial education for EU citizens, little has been done in practical terms. The education level and understanding of financial matters still remain quite low amongst consumers.
Well, I think investor education is in part a voluntary effort on the part of the private sector, the financial intermediaries, the stakeholders group, those who represent the investors, retail investors and shareholders, the supervisory authorities themselves who help steer best practices in curriculum. And those groups come together, should come up with what would be considered a harmonized approach to investor education. But the other side of investor education that's very much a necessary component is investor protection, because you can't have the educational component without the necessary stick to ensure that market misalignment doesn't occur in terms of misinformation that the consumer may be receiving.
Consumer education in financial services, it's a must, it's unavoidable, but it's not a miracle stick to resolve all problems, and this is just an illusion if we believe that this can be done just by educating consumers. So in financial services we believe that we need independent education, so it should not be just a side way for business to enter with product placement and marketing. And we believe that we need strong enforcement and strong supervision.
The third panel tackled the much argued euro crisis and the eurobonds feasibility in the global context and in relation to the current financial crisis. The panel discussed the role of banks and financial systems and engaged with members of the audience in a heated debate about the appropriateness of eurobonds as the right tool for debt solidarity.
I think the most interesting thing about our panel session was a lot of honesty and a recognition that there was not enough honesty over the last 2 or 3 years with the problems of the Eurozone. And people are now looking to that, and they're not saying that every solution is the perfect solution.
In the case of eurobonds, the influence of German reputation should be a big one, and on this basis, yes, of course, should be created also the price.
The question that was not asked during the whole session, who will subscribe to these bonds? Chinese? Japanese? British? Who?
Let's share out the debts. Well, you know, that's great because the debtor nations would like to share it out, wouldn't they? And the Germans are not too keen on that, or the Dutch are not, or the Finns are not too keen on that.
So, in fact, it is certainly not a long-term solution, because the long-term solution must be economical. It was easy to say we will have a common currency. It was more difficult to say we need to have synchronized less sovereignty, so synchronized economic, financial, monetary, fiscal policies.
But as Matej Ganta said, we need some real leadership. Where is it?
The fourth panel highlighted the barriers to shareholder engagement. To this end, a report on cross-border proxy voting in 2012, also known as Eurovote, was presented by Christiane Hölz, Managing Director of North Rhine-Westphalia of DSW, the German Association for Private Investors.
What did we do in 2012 with the Eurovote project? We attended all Eurostoxx 50 companies, and despite all hurdles, we managed to vote almost all of the shares.
I was taking part in a panel yesterday, a discussion on shareholder rights and the ability of shareholders and companies to communicate with each other. I think the relationships are good, and I hope that they can continue to improve. Obviously, on some things we have some different interests, but on the whole I think our interests are fairly closely aligned in terms of both sides wanting to be able to communicate better and trying to work together to understand and get rid of the barriers that stand in our way.
The final panel offered an in-depth view on the best practices of cross-border investment presented by JAPTI, the Slovenian public agency for entrepreneurship and foreign investment. Panelists were debating the political and economic obstacles that foreign investors frequently encounter and compared foreign and domestic enterprises.
It's a debate about how to, let's say, what to do with the state-owned companies, what to do with the new holding, and of course the economists try to address those issues. Of course, there are certain things we have to say that are not the best. There are also negative signals as well, but what we want to say is that, of course, at the end of the day, we'll try to make a positive signal to the investors, and let's hope that certain deals will be done, and Slovenia, of course, will gain out of this whole process.
Every year, Euroshareholders awards the Euroshareholders Friendly Award to an organization that is especially investor-friendly.
We look especially for companies that are investor-friendly, and I think we found a very good company. The winner of this award is a company called Krka. I would like to congratulate you very much. Krka is one of the world's leading pharmaceutical companies. It's seated in Slovenia, is very good results, a very good economic development, and is very shareholder friendly.
On Friday, the 21st of September, the International Conference on Financial Education, as well as the exposition Investo Expo, officially closed with a speech by Jela Benner-Heinecha, President of EUROFINUSE, presenting the Ljubljana Declaration. The Ljubljana Declaration foresees the merger of Euroshareholders with EUROFINUSE as of 1st of January 2013 and aims to increase the visibility and activity of EUROFINUSE vis-à-vis the European authorities.
I think today we have a historic day for our two organizations, EUROFINUSE and Euroshareholders, because this morning we anonymously approved the merger of these two associations, and we call this decision the Ljubljana Declaration.
It's a great day for individual investors and retail financial services users in Europe. We were already the dedicated representative, but now we will be even stronger.
We've been here for a few days. We've seen so much of Slovenia, a very nice country, very positive people all over the senior management of the politicians and the industry of this country. That we have enjoyed the week goes without saying. That it has been useful is what I need to say. Now we have very good grasp of what's going on here. The Slovenian people have organized this superbly. I think that is what I would like to say about these days.